Welcome to Rauta. This time we have old school thrash metal from Germany, but not one of those you would call Pick 4 or even Pick 3, meaning bands like Destruction, Creator, Sodom, and, extended version Tankard. But this one is Necronomicon. I know plenty of you probably figured out that's a name that a lot of bands have been using, but if it belongs to one band only, I would strongly recommend this particular band from Germany that was founded already 40 years ago. So this is old school thrash metal, and this is actually a reissue of their 2004 album Construction of Evil. So 20 years in for the band in game, and already 20 years like earlier, this was released. So halfway through with all the 40 years in the business, in the making and all. Now this is, as you can see, a new version. It here says Sangria Amber Marbled Vinyl. This comes with a new cover. Don't get me wrong, this original cover is almost the same. This is kind of an enhanced version of it. So let's unwrap it. We can now, by this point, actually could just remove the wrappings, but I'll let them stay here for a while. And inside you will find the sleeve with the lyrics and everything, and including some old school photos when the guys were still relatively young, not so young anymore. And inside the sleeve, we actually have the vinyl sleeve, and as you can see, this is the marble version. And as you can see, this is a reissue version, which I mentioned previously. So old school thrash metal from Germany. And now I want to show you the basics of the band on Metal Archive site, founded in Lörrach in Germany, 1984. So meaning quite a lot. Quite an old name. If you look at the list here on Metal Archive site, you will see there are lots of bands with the same name. Not maybe as much as you might be guessing. As you can figure out, Necronomicon is quite an usual name. And a lot of these names are obviously newer. So if you take a look at this, for example, Malaysian black metal name, you will see that this has been long abandoned and they were active in the 90s. So no reason to go all through that list, because you can just click out this German band. And as you can see, this discography is quite vast. More than 10 albums by now, and being active throughout the years pretty much. I mean, 3 albums in the 80s, a couple of in the 90s, then a couple of more early 2000s, and then when you do enter the next decade, 3 more albums, and now in 2020s, still a couple of albums out. So all the way through pretty much active, and according to Metal Archives, never actually disbanded, went on hiatus, or anything like that. Now, if you look at the members list, however, it is quickly revealed that only one original member, Freddy, is in the band anymore. This is quite typical for older bands that have been in the game for decades. I mean, you over the years, you kind of end up losing members. That's kind of a given. So, pretty much made of new members these days, even though some of the members have been in the band for more than 10 years now. So not that new anymore, but when we're talking about this album, well, obviously we're talking about the lineup that has been long gone. If you look at the members list, it's quite extensive. But once again, with as old band as this one, not that, how to say, not that surprising really. The thing here is, over the years, people come, people go, and all that stuff. So after this one, there has been plenty of members, and before this album, quite a few members. So you can figure it out from the list who were there back in the days. When we're talking about this album, Construction of Evil, this is made of quite a few tracks, including some live tracks, which I'm not sure if this version even includes. No, this ends with the track Possessed Again, which is here the track 12. If you look at the other versions, you will see all these versions. Like this is the original one from 2004, including some live tracks. But when we're talking about this vinyl version, which I have here, you will see this is 12 tracks, about 44 minutes. So 6 tracks an album, and being very, very much like a very typical thrash metal album, back in the days, meaning none of the tracks are excessively long and all. There's only one track that actually passes 5 minutes mark, and the rest are between less than 2 minutes to something around 4 minutes. So very basic. Let's give this a little bit of a sample, how it sounds, and then I'll give my verdict of the actual album. Stay in the line for the judgment. Stay inside this cage of fate. What we can say about Construction of Evil, while it is as old as 2004, it's not really the 1990s, let alone 1980s sounding, meaning there are lots of old school vibes present, and it's clearly that this is thrash metal album. It's not really touching the matters so much in the veins of, bands that kind of change their way later on to do something softer or more modern. They're bands that started touching the new metal elements. Even Slayer was part of that when certain album came out and people are like, okay, they're changing their style. Some bands, including Necronomicon, went a little bit softer with their, let's say, more heavy metal, thrash metal thing. So kind of a coming out of the typical thrash metal box. And of course, some bands just stayed true to whatever they were going. But a lot of these old school bands that started in the 80s, they went for different directions, and not all of them kind of stayed true to whatever they started with. So in that sense, Construction is Evil is quite of an old school album. I mean, it kind of reeks of 1980s, without abandoning the very, very foundation. When it comes to the songwriting, in my opinion, this is pretty decent, but none of the tracks are exactly great, meaning you really can't compare this to, say, early Metallica albums or Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth. You will feel like, okay, this is not as good, but I think it partially comes with the age, and also this just isn't, in terms of songwriting, challenging a lot of those great classics. That doesn't mean this album is like useless or not good. In fact, this is very, very listenable, and if you compare it to a lot of those bands that went to some other genres and all, I would say Construction of Evil is pretty, true to its nature, even if the songwriting isn't that good. But when it comes to the production and the vocals and all, this one is some kind of a, it sounds bad, but I don't mean it like that, but kind of a B-class banger, meaning even if it's not ready good enough to challenge the best of the pile, it's still, delivering some trash blows from left and right, meaning it's quite a strong album, even if it's not the gold standard one. So, I don't know. If you're a thrash metal fanatic, I would say give it a go. But if you're only going for some cherry picking and you want just the best of the pile, the one person that's of, the best in a given genre, then might not be your cup of tea. However, if you missed this back in the day and you're like, what is this old band? I have never ever even heard of it. I would say give this one a go. The later albums, in my opinion, are not as good because they went a little bit different direction. But this kind of a showcase is you can do proper thrash metal into 2000s and still sound like valid one. Now, it is 20 years old, but it sounds kind of a timeless, and I think it's got to be worth something. So, in my opinion, give it a go, and I hope you like it. Links are included in the description box. Enjoy!